Not a cow bear then. Okay.
They will go in about 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Call to order of a special meeting of the Goodyear City Council, 7 April 2008. Would you please join Councilmember Lord in the Pledge of Allegiance and Invocation, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you bow your heads, please? Lord, we honor your name and give thanks for all the blessings you bestow upon our city. Give us the foresight and wisdom in our decision-making. And Lord, we thank you for our hard-working staff and ask for special blessings of good health placed over them and their families. Protect our troops serving overseas. We pray for their safe return. In your name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. We have no expenditures to approve or ratify. We'll move to communications. And Councilmember Osborne, would you lead the communication?
Oh, certainly. Well, I would like to have the YMCA Teen Action Council, as they know what to do. I have to tell you that I thought this was a good opportunity for this council to have an experience on local government, and especially when it's a positive impact that's being placed upon them, and so I think they have a little something to say.
Hello, my name's Jade Osborne with the YMCA, Southwest Valley YMCA Teen Action Council. I live in the city of Goodyear, and this is our president, Natalie Rivera.
Hi, my name is Natalie, and I go to Xavier College Prep, and I live in Litchfield Park.
My name's Crystal Peterson, and I'm the vice president of the Teen Action Council, and I go to Westview High School, and I live in Glendale.
My name is Caitlin Youngst, and I'm the treasurer of the Teen Action Council. I live in Goodyear, and I go to Desert Edge High School.
Hello, my name is Brent Wright, and I'm the historian of the Teen Action Council. I attend Millennium High School, and I live in Litchfield Park.
Hi, my name is Rachel. I go to Desert Edge, and I live in Goodyear.
Okay, so we are here today. As you can see, we are a very regional group. We come from all over, and we just came here to thank you for the in-kind donation from the Goodyear City Council to the YMCA for the gymnasium and the teen center, and we would like to thank you for that because I guess I'll tell you a little bit of what we do and who we are. We have a blast putting together lots of events for teenagers around the area and neighboring cities, and our most popular and most successful has been the Fear Factor event, and also being one of the first graduating class of the Y2L program. And that's basically what we do. We have a lot of fun putting together a lot of teen events and reaching out to the teenagers in our surrounding area. We also partner with the Avondale City Commission, and we put together some events like that, like the haunted house, and that's obviously seasonal. So we just have a lot of fun, and we wanted to thank you for that. We'll be using the gym for our events, and we'll be reaching out to neighboring teenagers in our area, so we wanted to thank you a lot for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and all of you did an exceptionally fine job in introducing yourself and a nice summary of the purpose, so we thank you very much for that, and it's a joy for us to have each of you in our community or very near our community, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job, guys.
We'll now move to opportunity for citizens to comment to the council on any item that is not on this evening's agenda. So for non-agenda items, anyone wish to speak? I know Gary has one, and we have one other. Gary, you want to lead it off? Gary Gelser.
You don't know his address by heart yet?
I know my address, but the clerk has it. Gary Gelser, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for this opportunity to speak. In the last hour at the meeting, at the work session, there was a recommendations by the compensation consultant and the HR on a number of projects that needed to be worked on. One of the key projects that I think needs to be addressed immediately is the fact that the council pay is the second lowest of all the surveyed cities out of all 15 that were surveyed during this compensation study. There is an election coming up in March of 2009, and I would like to publicly say I am not running. I'm going on another cruise, so I have things to do. However, I do believe that there are candidates that could run and will run, and some of the council members. I know what the time demands are on council members, and I think the compensation, while it is an honor to serve, the compensation needs to come up to at least the market level or the average. We are a big city now. We are 58,000 people. So my recommendation to you is to immediately form a citizen committee so that you have the so that we give you the political coverage that you need, so that the citizen committee can come up with an adequate recommendation, so that when the next council is elected in March and takes office in June of 2009, they will be compensated at a more market level for the work they do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
He's just trying to get on the good side of it.
That's one way to do it.
Mayor,
Appreciate
Serena,
that, Mr. Gelser. Thank you. Yes.
Serena Denning would like to speak on the Estrella Foothills Community Park.
Hi, I'm Serena Denning. I'm also the Regional Commissioner for AYSO Region 225, which encompasses the West Valley, providing youth soccer for players ages 4 to 19. In the Southwest Valley, we've been out here since 1979. We also have a VIP program for special needs players, which is ages 4 and up. We serve adults too. Our program was invited by Jennifer Campbell and Brian Barnes from Public Works and the Parks and Recs Department to come out to the opening of the Foothills Community Park, showcase the soccer field. We had some kids come out there, had a great time. I would like to thank the council and particularly thank Brian and Jennifer for inviting our group out here. I am a Goodyear resident, so I live out here. I'm very excited about the new parks that are being built. I've taken part in the Recreation Roundtable, which Vice Mayor Antoniak has been a part of, and I think Ms. Ford came out, and I think Joan came out too. So we had a great time. We're doing a really a lot of work to try to improve the relationship between the youth sports out there with the city of Goodyear. And I met with Brian and Jennifer today to try to develop a greater special needs program out here to address that, what's not being addressed right now by a lot of the other groups for the citizens of Goodyear. And just as a token of our thanks, I have some bags that have our tournament shirt. We just had a tournament held last week in the neighboring city of Avondale, but I would like to give you all one of those that has a shirt and some little gifts in there, just as a thanks from our program, thanks from our players, a thanks from our parents for letting us be part of that. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to give this to you now so that I can see.
Okay.
I love being here.
Thank you for what you do also very much.
Jennifer and Brian.
These two right here.
Just set them back here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Further comments on non-agenda items? Seeing none, again, this is a special meeting. This is the first Monday of the month. We normally do not have a regular meeting here. This is a special meeting for one agenda item. And we'll now consider approval of a memorandum of understanding with the Cincinnati Reds regarding Major League Baseball spring training facility. Announced that Brian Dahlke will present.
Mayor, I have to recuse myself from this.
Okay. Councilmember Cavalier is recusing himself from the discussion and the vote.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, absolutely a pleasure to be in front of you today. And we know what the subject is. We have an opportunity to bring for you tonight to consider a memo of understanding, memorandum of understanding with the Cincinnati Reds. Staff's recommendation that council does approve this document tonight, and we'll go through the staff presentation. And we actually have some information that we need to bring forward to council tonight. We do recognize that we have a lot of eyes on us today, a lot of media, not only from around the state of Arizona, Florida, certainly Ohio. So for the benefit of a lot of those people that aren't here, we will have, I won't say an extended presentation, but I think we need to give enough background to where it's very clear as far as why council would be considering this with what we're presenting. So tonight, we'll be giving introductions, and there are a lot of introductions that we'll be going through. A lot of people really helped make this possible. We'll talk about the project, the memo of understanding, what the deal points of that are, the financing plan, very near and dear to us, Arizona Sports Authority resolution, and what that means. And I'm wearing a green armband today in recognition not just for the yes vote that they had for the resolution of support, but it's also the security bracelet that they place on you when you go into the University of Phoenix Stadium. So I thought I'd keep it on just because the color was green and they gave us a green light. More about that later, certainly. We'll be talking about the economic and community benefits and then what the next steps are. But before we get into this, council challenged us, and we recognize that when we were before you at the council advance barely over a week ago. And during that time, we presented to the mayor and council that we could fund some of the critical projects for this city, which include council chambers, actually a new court area that we can expand into that takes it from what this is 1,000 square feet up to about double that, or actually close to triple that if we have 2 rooms there. And it would be a new location for the council chambers in the interim. As importantly, we had water and wastewater projects that we have to get done. We're a growing city. We have infrastructure projects that need to be funded. We talked about how we can fund those. We talked about Phase 1 City Hall and the library and the importance of getting those projects brought before council. And we have the funding strategies, financing strategies to get those done. And then finally, I don't want to say last but not least, but the Cincinnati Reds with the expansion of getting a second team at this ballpark. So we feel like we've worked very closely with council to bring forward those priority projects. So tonight we are back before you, and we will be going through the introductions. As part of that, tonight you'll be hearing briefly from Mr. John Allen from the Cincinnati Reds, Brad Wright, who's here representing the Arizona Sports and Tourism Authority, Eric Judson, gentleman that's been with us for quite some time now, working with us on the Cleveland Indians project, and Harry Paxton talking about some of the economic benefits. I'll provide most of the, I'll say most of the detail behind what the agreements are. But before I get into that, I really wanted to recognize some folks, and as always, recognize the leadership of this mayor and council. And Mayor, you personally, for a lot of the time and effort you put in with the legislature, with the Sports and Tourism Authority board members, working closely on the relationship with the Cincinnati Reds, so thank you very much. And also thank you very much for the council in asking the tough questions and really providing your leadership. In addition, we had an opportunity to work with the governor's office. We have with us, I saw him earlier, Jeff Shotsky. Jeff Shotsky from the governor's office. The governor has been very supportive of the expansion of the Reds to Arizona, and working with this project, understanding the importance of Cactus League. That with this 15th team, we are going to be over $400 million a year in economic benefits to the state of Arizona. Big numbers, and it's been her goal to really expand that, and to not only expand it, but to strengthen those teams that are already here through renovations. So appreciate her support and the support of her staff. I'll go through some other ones. In Sports and Tourism Authority Board, Brad Wright's here, but certainly the chairmanship of Debbie Johnson and Brad will talk very briefly. But I give a lot of credit to Brad Wright, his leadership with the Sports and Tourism Authority Board, and specifically the Cactus League Committee that studied this. It really worked this resolution behind and in front of the scenes. So a lot of recognition to that gentleman that's here with us tonight. And then a lot of these are I call it the same cast of characters that have been with us in baseball for quite some time. Keith Hoskins with and Scott Ruby with Gus Rosenfeld, Larry Lang, Finance Department, Romina Corquez for the intergovernmental relations side of things, Regis Reed, Kim Benden, Nora Fasinelli, who's been inundated with media requests, my gosh, and staying on top of that. Matter of fact, we have a 6 o'clock media spot tomorrow where Mr. Allen gets to be filmed downtown, so it never stops. Brian Barnes, Nathan Torres for a lot of the detail that we needed to put this proposal together. So I would also like to recognize the consultants that we hired to really help us with this project, and that's Mr. Tom Zimba and Ginevra Richardson with the firm of Zimba and Wade. Worked very hard with us and certainly gave us some excellent guidance along the way. So thank you very much. So with that, I do want to invite Mr. John Allen to say a couple of words, and then I'll be popping up here every now and then just to provide additional details. So thank you.
Mayor, members of council, I will not take very long. It will be more than a couple of words. But as you begin this meeting, I want to reiterate one more time that the Cincinnati Reds are extremely excited about this opportunity to move our spring training and certain other year-round operations to the city of Goodyear. It's an exciting opportunity for us and something we're really anticipating and hopeful that will come to fruition. We think that a partnership with the city of Goodyear, the Cleveland Indians, and the Reds is just an absolute win for everybody. To do a baseball first and really have two teams from the same state and the same city doing spring training is just a phenomenal accomplishment. And it makes a lot of sense, in our opinion, especially with the beautiful stadium that you're in the process of building now, to be able to double the usage of that and double the economic impact of that is just a phenomenal accomplishment. But again, everybody has been great to work with. Brian thanked a lot of the people we've been working with, the same people. And regardless of the outcome tonight, it's been a pleasure working with everybody here, getting to know everybody, and we thank you for your attention. We thank you for this opportunity, and look forward to hopefully a long and fruitful partnership for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to invite Brad Wright, the chairman of the committee, the Cactus League Committee of the Sports and Tourism Authority, and keep in mind that it was 71 days ago that we had an exclusivity agreement brought before this council to work on this project expiring this Thursday. We absolutely put the Sports and Tourism Authority through their paces, and they performed. So it's my pleasure to introduce Brad Wright.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thanks for letting me be here tonight to address you. I will be brief also, but I wanted to compliment you all, Mayor, council, members of your staff, and the Reds for having the vision, first of all, to bring this project forward to ASDA. Remember that ASDA is only a funding source, a piggy bank. We can't finance these great projects unless someone comes to us with a plan, and so we appreciate you bringing us a wonderful plan. Second, I want to compliment you for the city's cooperation and the team's cooperation in helping us strike a balance. As you know, that we're not only charged with helping fund new facilities, but we need to take care of what we have. We have a number of wonderful teams here in the Cactus League and here in the Valley, and so we had to strike a balance that both provided the financial security that you all needed, but also took care of renovations for future stadiums, for existing stadiums. A couple points I wanted to make. By 2010, with the Reds coming here, ASDA will have grown the Maricopa Cactus League portion of the Cactus League from 7 teams to 13. And if you recall back when Prop 302 was passed, there was a promise of 2 teams. Well, we've, with the Reds, now hit 6, and we're proud of that over at ASDA. The total economic impact of the Cactus League, as you probably heard once, is over $400 million annually. That's a big number, and 60% of the people spending that money on Cactus League come from out of state. So we're proud of what that's doing for the Valley as well. And finally, we think that Cactus League here in Maricopa County has some real advantages, and it helps land wonderful teams like the Reds. You know, we have terrific weather here. We have all of our parks are within a 1-hour drive of each other here in Maricopa County. And most of the cities that call these teams home for the rest of the year are are located in a city that provides nonstop air service to the Valley of the Sun through Phoenix Sky Harbor. So we're proud of what we're able to do. With apologies to Florida, we think we provide a wonderful location, and we're thrilled to be participating in this process. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last presentation before we get into the details of the project itself, Mr. Eric Judson with JMI Sports, who's been, again, working with us since before we attracted the Cleveland Indians, and now certainly working closely with the Reds. So, Eric Judson.
Thank you, Brian, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I've been before you many times talking about baseball, and it's always a pleasure, but I will tell you that tonight I would say is especially exciting, I think, and important. When we first started talking about this long ago, we did talk about 2 teams, but I think we quickly realized how difficult that was going to be, how difficult it was going to be to attract teams to come to this project. And we also had some competition in the Valley, as you all know very well as well. So we had quite a charge before us, but we still had this dream of 2 teams. What we did do, though, is have a bunch of resources put before us by the city. And Brian has led a tremendous team effort, led by the mayor, of course, and the council. We dedicated tremendous time, effort, resources to go out and do the best we could, to do the right thing in trying to find teams who would be willing to come here to Goodyear. Now, I'll tell you, once again, it was not an easy task. Once we finally did find a plan, we had a great partner in the Wood family, who I don't see here tonight. I was hoping that they were here. But the Wood family, a long-term establishment in the community here, came to the city with their land to be a partner with the city to come up with this bold vision. And a bold vision it was. It was not just a regular spring training complex that you see not only in the Valley but throughout the country. This was about economic development where you have a ballpark in the middle of significant activity that will be residential, office, retail, hotels potentially. It was trying to break the existing mold and have this really be more about economic impact for the city of Goodyear. And you and your visionary leadership allowed us to do that. And it was with that plan that we went out to every Major League Baseball team who potentially had an interest in coming to the Valley. And we canvassed all of them who had an interest. Initially, it was tough sledding. We didn't have much of a response initially, but thankfully, although the Indians for some time worked very hard and they were very diligent in trying to stay in Florida, and in fact they were negotiating, I think, with a few cities at the same time they were talking to us, we got them to come to Goodyear, to tour Goodyear, to meet the people of this community and see the vision that we were presenting to them as an opportunity to, again, as we keep talking about, create a 365-day-a-year home for this baseball team. And they were very impressed. So again, as they continue to try to have other deals work in Florida, I think that ultimately we captivated them to the point that they realized this was the place for them to be. And we put before them, with the help of the AZSTA, with the help of this city, we put before them a plan that captivated them into coming to this community. So I will never forget the night that I received the phone call that said, a fax is coming over right now and we've got a signed MOU. I quite frankly got to the point I wasn't sure if that was ever going to happen, but it did, and it was a tremendous moment for this community. Then we focused our attention on implementing this grand plan, and the construction of this facility is going, as you all know very well from your tours, exceptionally well. We topped out the clubhouse for the Indians just last week. The ballpark is going exceptionally well, and Regis Reed, I know, has the opportunity to walk you around out there and show you the great progress. So that implementation phase was very important, and quite frankly, that was important for us to make sure that we were going to meet the obligations of the Indians. And we also didn't believe, quite frankly, that there were any other teams available to us at that time. I've known John Allen for an awful long time, and when we first started talking about trying to attract teams, and I gave him a call and I said, Eric, good to talk to you. No, thank you. We are very committed to staying in Sarasota, and our owner has been very clear in that, and we're going to do everything we can to remain there. I think about another 30 days later, I called him again and he told me the same thing, and I think for the next subsequent 4 or 5 months, that was his answer. And so, again, we got into the implementation phase. They did everything they possibly could to stay in Florida, and I know that to be very true. But when we finally were able to open their minds to the idea of coming to Goodyear, again, it was a visit to meet with you people, to tour the site, to tour the community, see the great progress that the great city of Goodyear is undertaking. I think that quickly captivated them. They realized there is an opportunity beyond where they were looking, and they had to take it very seriously. So that partnership that then emerged, just as it did with the Indians, John Allen has spent many a day out here knocking on doors, spending time with the legislature, spending time with anyone who had a real vested interest in this. We had a great partner in the Reds, and they've been terrific in supporting this. But again, it was only after they had exhausted their efforts in Florida. So we stand here now tonight with two teams, two Ohio teams, as John has indicated, which is, I got to tell you, beyond, I think, our initial estimations as to what it could be, because we're going to be bringing people here that can utilize that facility every day at spring training and spend their tourism dollars here in this community. And again, I think it's very important to think about what it took initially. It was a bold vision and great leadership. And then I think another very important point that has to be made is that you also initially went out for a public vote. And once you initially started this process, you wanted to make sure you had the community backing you, and that it was in fact what the people of this great city wanted to do, not just the elected officials. So I commend you for that. But once we got those resources dedicated, once the opportunities presented themselves with the Indians initially, and then the Reds, once we were able to show this great city to those teams, we had great partners. So I'm pleased to now be presenting with this team tonight an opportunity to have two teams playing in your facility for decades to come, and look forward to answering any questions you have.
Thank you, Eric. Eric catches a plane tonight, heads off, and he gives a presentation at Stanford University tomorrow morning, and then he's back here tomorrow afternoon. So he is making Goodyear his home almost on a daily basis. So thank you, Eric. Appreciate that. Wanted to point out, just for the benefit of those that may be watching, a couple of things. One is what you'll see on this particular overhead is where the spring training ballpark village is. And as part of that, you'll see that outlined in kind of an orange reddish color, and you'll see the arrow pointing up to that. But that is what we're talking about, and I'll have another rendering that shows a little bit more detail on that. But it's, one of the things that we think makes this exciting as this community grows is the amount of economic development, the amount of development period that's happening in this corridor. And I think it's very important to point out that you'll also see up there on the top line the regional mall, and you'll see an arrow pointing to that. We know that that will be happening in 2010 with the power center happening now. It's under construction. So with that mall and the area around it, close to 3 million square feet of retail that's coming in just north of the Interstate 10. So again, that's going to be ostensibly about 2 miles north of this ballpark. The I-10 widening, the leadership of this mayor and council that brought that to really fruition. Very important to get the interstate, and this was actually Interstate 10, the last segment between California and Florida was through this community. Now we're widening it. We found that it is not wide enough, and that is underway now. A little bit of, a lot of that will be open by the time the Reds come here. The employment corridor, you'll see that outlined in blue. Very important to point out that within walking distance of this ballpark and the Reds Development Complex, Indians Development Complex, we will have 40,000 daytime jobs with employers within this community. So you start to see the synergy that happens with this daytime population that certainly will take advantage of this. Next one's the airport, and Phoenix Goodyear Airport, 8,500-foot runway. We can land the 747s, but it's that's going to be very important to these teams and very important economic engine for this community. And we're very, very proud of that. We work closely with City of Phoenix Aviation on that and proximate to the ballpark itself. The universities, my gosh, who would have thought, and stealing mayor and council's thunder on this one, for, and Mayor, your vision when your inaugural address was, is we really need to try and attract private universities. And we did. And this council approved a lease agreement, I want to say just a few weeks ago, with University Incarnate Word. This is going to be right next to our city center. It's an opportunity for private universities to come here. In addition, Franklin Pierce University as well. And St. Francis University continue to keep working with them. City Center itself, this is one where we brought forward a solution where we can fund Phase 1 City Hall and the library. We're getting that project going. We will be doing interviews this Wednesday to work on a development team that we plan on partnering with years to come. And that's one of the things I think that sets this community apart is our commitment to partnerships, working with the private sector, leveraging the resources, certainly. We've seen that with the Wood family, with Rose Properties, now Civica, and the list goes on and on. And that will be virtually I'm going to say, your best hitter, John Allen, for the Reds? Griffey. It's a Griffey hit away from City Center to the ballpark. So we could actually try and see if that happens when he comes here. And then at Canyon Trails Town Center, another 1 million square feet that's going to be 2 miles west of this ballpark. So a lot of opportunities for tourists, certainly when they come here, not only just within this area, but certainly throughout the region. The second team site, this is an old rendering, but it does portray, if you look at the bottom left corner of this, that's where the Cincinnati Reds would be working on about 50 acres, this development complex. So you can see, and just to the north of it, you'll see the Cleveland Indians there. So they're going to be joined side by side. Done on purpose, where the development complexes that will be used 10.5 months out of the year in the clover lease by this community. And I have another rendering that will show that. Both of these will be about a half mile away from the ballpark itself. And as Eric explained, the ballpark village is going to be a lot of development around it, which is separated by the development fields themselves, the baseball fields. One of the things on spring training is talked about by Brad Wright. We have a lot of facilities now in the Metro Phoenix area. And with that, you can see these on this particular slide. And you can begin to see the network of freeways and interstates that connect all these. That certainly make all of these minutes away from each other, and it's a big benefit to the teams to spend time practicing and not riding in a bus. So it's really taken shape, and again, that's been the leadership of the Sports and Tourism Authority. What do the Reds get? They will be getting a development complex that's similar to what the Indians are getting. This particular rendering is what the Cleveland Indians will have. And those 4 fields on the bottom, affectionately called the cloverleaf, we'll have use of those 10.5 months a year. Councilmember Osborne, we will be lighting that set of cloverleafs for the Indians. And we are looking to the future when we can do that for the Reds complex. But very important for us, because that begins to get not only use for our citizens at nighttime, but also helps out in event planning and things like that where we bring in tournaments. So definitely a big addition. On the clubhouse itself, with the Indians, they're looking at 42,800 square feet. What we are working on with the Reds, our minimum standard that we will provide, that we will be funding, is 38,000 square feet for their training facility, their clubhouse, if you will. If the Reds want to up that, they pay the additional amount for that. But our commitment is for 38,000 square feet. It's for 6 fields, 6 full baseball fields, 2 half fields. And if they want to convert one of those half fields to an agility field, they can certainly do that. But we start working with them pretty much right away if this gets approved by council on that programming. Memo of understanding. Okay, the business points. A memo of understanding, what that does is that sets a framework for the deal, if you will, and this will be reflected in the use agreement that I'll talk about in a few minutes. But what this is it sets a maximum project budget at $32 million. You keep hearing $33 million. Well, one of those million is for the lights at the Cloverleaf for the Indians complex. So we have set that as a maximum project budget. We brought that before council, and $33 million in total funding. The Reds will be paying us an annual use fee of $100,000, which goes up each year, and that will be tied to the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. So that is something that you'll be seeing as well. Use agreement, 20 years. This deal is for 20 years with 2 5-year options, so it's a long-term commitment. And we are looking at having this ready fall of '09 for the Reds to actually be here. And then spring training here with the crack of the bat, testing Ken Griffey Jr. to see if he can hit it all the way to City Hall. Project budget, been through this previously with council, nothing has really changed. What you have is the development complex, and this is JMI Sports has provided these estimates. They have worked very closely on our Indians complex, so they have a very good sense of what the numbers will be. So the estimate that you have before us, listed as practice facilities, the other costs, we're looking at total project cost of about just under $32 million. Project financing, we have budgeted $4.7 million. We are spending $3.3 million of that right now on the Indians complex. We have uncommitted funds of $1.4 million, which means, okay, out of the 1.5 needed for the Reds project, we're close, but we're not quite there. So that delta, or the difference, is about $100,000. We brought forward to council last week at the council advance opportunity to consider raising the hotel bed tax 1%. All we're looking to do is really bring in about $110,000 or about $100,000 in round numbers for this project to make up that difference. So that would get us at an ability to fund this 100%. Now what you'll see here is a hotel bed tax proposal. It shows where we're at right now. It shows that we're at 4.5% on the hotel tax, and John, you've been paying that for several days now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have 2 items on here. What we brought before council previously was a 1% increase. It would take us to 5.5%. If I said 6.5%, I'd probably have the wrath of Copper Hospitality if I tried to bring an additional amount. But that 5.5% would still keep us below Glendale and Peoria, not by much, but it would. It put us at the upper quarter, if you will, of tax rates, hotel tax rates within the Metro Phoenix area. The other thing, though, that we would be considering, and council is not voting on a hotel tax tonight, and we're not bringing the Public Improvement Corporation financing to you tonight, but these are the proposals that are part of the financing package. As we gain hotels, and we are getting a lot of new hotels. We have about 720, 730 rooms today in this community, and that looks to double over the next handful of years. So with that, we'll also be bringing an alternative recommendation of a 0.5% hotel tax increase. So it'd be 0.5%. And the reason is based on the anticipated growth of hotels, that would get us at the delta that we were looking for. So that's for another day. Certainly, we will be bringing that to council for consideration. The resolution with the Sports and Tourism Authority. Currently, we have a $74.5 million project being reimbursed at 50%, and that's for the ballpark and the Cleveland Indians Development Complex. Well, because it was a one-team facility, we're at 50% reimbursement. With the new resolution that was passed, and I'll go through some of the details of that in a minute, but what that does is that increases us to $104.5 million. And what it does for the total project cost with the Reds added to that. What that does is that then, and that's capped at $30 million, by the way. So if you add the 74.5 and the 30 million, that gets us at our cap of 104.5 million. It moves us up from a 50% reimbursement for the Indians to project and ballpark to 66 2/3%. So we get that additional amount. Total is just shy of $70 million in reimbursements over the years. That's the good news. The blueprint, and what this does is it outlines what the resolution laid out today. And again, that was a unanimous vote of the authority, which we're very positive about. But the first priority doesn't change. What that is that's a commitment that's already out there for renovations of complexes through 2022. It also outlines the 50% reimbursement we get for our first phase project prior to the Reds, as well as taking care of the Glendale project for the White Sox Dodgers. Then what happens is you get to a priority 2. The Sports and Tourism Authority, the funds that they'd be using for this are from the Maricopa County Stadium District. It's $2.50 cost per car that would be going toward this project. If those growth rates increase, and we feel confident that there's a good likelihood that they'll be increased over years, there will be additional monies available. And what would happen is the monies available from that increase in in car rentals, as that goes up, then we would get a portion of that funding. We're looking at the excess of those funds. 50% would come back toward Goodyear, and 50% would be for renovations. Also, if Glendale, if there's any remaining dollars, well, they would be actually completed in priority 1. But what this does is, as funds are available, then we are in a priority position for those, along with renovations. Priority 3, the Sports and Tourism Authority dries up, goes away February 28th, the year 2031. As an authority, they are statutorily sunset at that time. Then what happens is any of the MCSD, or the County Stadium District funds that come in from that car rental tax of $250, that would all go toward 100% toward renovations. Okay? The priority 4 is if the Sports and Tourism Authority or some other authority comes and takes its place. We feel very confident that there will be an authority that needs to live on beyond 2031. Absolutely critical for the health of the Cactus League. When that happens, we are in a priority position, and that would put us at 50% of those revenues to finish exhausting, if you will, any remaining funds that we have not yet received. Again, on that almost $70 million in reimbursements. What also happens is we have an interest accruing over those years not to exceed 5% based on our actual financing. So we will be accruing interest during that time. And I will tell you that in the late 2020s and into the 2030s, a lot of us will be retired, maybe looking from up above then. But I got to tell you that the mayor and council and the city manager at that time are going to build shrines in your honor, because there's a lot of money coming in, and this project will be paid off. So it's huge, huge in the future. And there are some unknowns. We don't know what's going to happen over the next decade or two in terms of what those revenue growth rates are going to be for rental cars. But we would be committed to receiving funds over time. And again, big dollars would come in. I'm going to turn over. We have just the last part of the presentation, a couple slides on economic community benefits. Mr. Harry Paxton. Yes, Mayor.
Could you go back to priority 2 again, please?
Yes.
It says here 50% of excess Maricopa County Stadium District would provide reimbursement to Goodyear. But on the priority 3, it says all of those funds go to renovations.
Okay, let me explain the difference between priority 2 and 3. Priority 2 gets us up to the year 2031. So if you think about going back to priority 1 just real briefly, those, say the city of Glendale, that gets paid off, their project gets paid off, and there are additional revenues that are coming in during that time before 2031. The growth rates exceed what the STA's projections are. Those additional funds on priority 2 would come to us and also go to renovations. But only to 2031, because that's when the STA sunsets. So after that magic date, the curtain comes down, if you will, on 2031, February 28th, then the STA is saying, at that point, when you go to priority 3, that's when all those MCSD dollars would go to renovations. But in addition, whatever authority is in place, if the sports authority gets extended, any dollars that are committed for that would be coming toward us. And I think one point I really need to make on that is there are really two pots of money that Sports and Tourism Authority gets. They get a 1% hotel tax, and they get a 3% tax on car rentals, okay? So that's a pot of money that they work with over here. That's already been exhausted. They don't have the ability to use any of that taxation for our project. So the funds that they're using come from the Maricopa County Stadium District. That was started in the early 1990s. And the County Board of Supervisors abdicated their control of those funds over to the authority, and those are the funds that we're working under right now, looking at those particular growth rates. So, Mayor, to answer your question, any excess revenues up until 2031, we would be receiving up to 50% after Priority 1's done. And then after that, we'd have to wait for an extension of the authority.
Which basically depends on legislature?
Yes.
Well, you know, you're talking about $400 million right now to the Phoenix area from Cactus League activities. And certainly in 2031, or a period from now until then, you're going to see additional accrual to that $400 million dollars. So to me, it paints a pretty attractive picture for the future.
Mayor, Councilmember Souza, absolutely, we agree with that. And in fact, we would commit our resources as a city, and certainly those of other Cactus League communities, to look at that extension. We think there's a great story to tell there. But is this year to do it? Probably not. I mean, you're looking at 2031 is when the sun sets. So we do have an opportunity to start working closely together on that. But it's the growth rates of the MCSD. ASTR, the Sports Authority, has put those at 3% growth rate annually for the next handful of years, and then it cascades down to 2% when you get into the early 2020s. So those growth rates could, as we especially increase our population by much more than 2 or 3% a year, we think that those numbers could go way up. So just wanted to make sure that point was made.
Thank you.
The reality is if in 2031 the authority is not extended, that money goes away.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Except for the MCSD funds, those the authority would not have control of those. Maybe they go back to the county Board of Supervisors at that point, but that would be the only remaining funding source that wouldn't be subject to the sunset. Okay. I have a couple slides on economic development. Invite Mr. Harry Paxton up, and then we'll conclude.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, it's a pleasure to be here tonight with you. And I want to let you know that the Economic Development Department is very excited about this opportunity for the Cincinnati Reds to come to our community. We feel it's definitely going to bolster our opportunities for development and the awareness of the community. In fact, we believe that the opportunities and the benefits to the community are numerous and substantial. And the Cactus League Association, has done extensive research to find out what those economic benefits are to the area, and much of that's been discussed tonight. Looking at each community, taking the different teams and dividing by how many teams there are, those economic benefits total over $26.3 million per team. If you look at that impact on an annual basis for the term of this contract, we're looking at over $526 million over the term of this agreement, which is significant to the region, and significant benefit that we can bring to this region and specifically to Goodyear. This gives Goodyear businesses, of course, an excellent opportunity to capture millions of dollars of additional sales in their businesses, increasing the economy. Exactly how much will be spent in Goodyear, we don't know. And that's always part of the challenge. We do know that Goodyear is developing, though, as a very substantial community. We have a regional mall coming on place, not to mention, of course, the power centers that we already have and are coming. That helps us tremendously. The other things that we're creating in the community also create that opportunity to capture much of that revenue that will exist from those expenditures. Of course, the hotels that have been mentioned tonight. As we move forward with spring training, we'll have the opportunity to do more community-based surveys, working along with the Cactus League to understand exactly how much we can attract and maximize that opportunity in Goodyear. Of course, we expect that the Cincinnati Reds will have, as well as the Indians and Ballpark Village, have a significant, as well as the ballpark, have a significant impact on Ballpark Village, and the ability for us to accelerate that opportunity to begin to build what has been planned in that area. But looking beyond just the raw economics, there are many other benefits that we see that go beyond just the economics. If we look at some of those additional recreational benefits, our citizens will be provided with the opportunity for other entertainment opportunities. Having a second team moves us beyond and launches us to a different league, so to speak, in the ability to attract different tournaments that have significant value beyond the spring training time frame at different times during the year, where it can have a significant and additional impact to our retail, and to our hotel and hospitality communities. In fact, if you look at the opportunity of attracting some of these different tournaments, such as USA Baseball, Triple Crown Sports, Little League, and many others, if you're able to attract a tournament that has 100 teams with that tournament, which many of these do, in which having a second team, having those extra ball fields, having those ball fields lit, creates that opportunity for us, of course, because they look for those number of fields, and then having the opportunity to have their championship game in a fabulous facility that we have planned gets us in that league. Looking at those 100 teams that many of those would have and bring to communities, if you're able to attract 3 of those, you're talking about probably an additional, and this is conservative, an additional 15,000 room nights in the community. Above and beyond, of course, what we've talked about before with each team and what they bring. So we think that definitely will enhance our opportunities and stimulate additional investment in the community. Based on Cactus League research with a two-team complex, we estimate that approximately 30,000 to 40,000 new visitors will come to Goodyear each year. That's a significant number. If you talk about economic impact and opportunities to expose your community to many people, that's a significant impact each year in a very short period of time. And the opportunity to have them in your community, that's one of the most important things, is how long they stay in your community. And having all the amenities that we have in our community definitely creates that additional advantage that we'll have in economic development of people coming and individuals looking at Goodyear for opportunities. If you look at some of the studies that have been done of the visitors, the out-of-town visitors that come to Arizona, if you look at their demographics, you're looking at individuals in many cases that have over $100,000 in income annually. In fact, that's been growing over the years. It's grown from 23%, which was the last survey done, I believe, in 2002, to this last survey in 2007 to over 35%. The median income of out-of-town attendees for the Cactus League is about twice the median income of the U.S. median income. That's significant and creates some opportunities for us. There's been a significant amount of talk about additional hotel rooms. Obviously, one team we've talked about last week brings over 7,000 room nights during that season to the region. 2 teams, of course, would double that, but that's small compared to, of course, the additional room nights that we added to the area and to the region because of the attendees that will come here, which we estimate would add over 40,000 potentially. Many of the other benefits that we look at, and which one that we think is an excellent benefit for the community to consider, is the additional benefits that will provide to our university. The benefits there can be substantial. If you look at a vibrant community that we're creating with the city center and that area, the opportunity for the students to be able to come to the spring training facilities, there's also a lack of collegiate activities or collegiate athletics in our region, in this area of the West Valley. This also enhances our university's opportunity to create more students and brings an additional quality of life and also an additional sense of pride to the community that will help our universities over time be more successful and help that area, the city center and Ballpark Village, to be more vibrant. Of course, we've talked a little bit about the Phoenix Goodyear Airport. Obviously, attracting the number of individuals that we'll attract each year exposes the Goodyear Airport to the opportunities for individuals to fly in for convenience. So we expect it to increase the traffic there. But also, and perhaps more importantly, it also increases that opportunity for individuals, for businesses and others to see the opportunities that exist around that airport and in our employment corridor south of I-10 for investment in businesses. If you look at everything, and especially if you look at the partnership and add all these things up, the partnership with the Arizona Sports and Tourism Authority, and especially that reimbursement, we think that benefits to the community are tremendous over the long term. I think it's a great investment for the community and will definitely benefit us as we go forward and develop our community. That concludes my presentation. Are there any questions that I might be able to answer?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harry. Last slide is next steps. And the steps are this. We did get a resolution of support, got, again, the green band on right now from the STA. We will be working on an intergovernmental agreement. That will take it to the kind of finalization, and we look to do that over the next couple of months. If the MOU is approved tonight, then we jump right into getting the use agreement. That's that thick document that outlines all the responsibilities of both the team and the Reds and the city of Goodyear. When they can use it, when fantasy camps happen, who does what maintenance, those types of things, and it'd be very similar, in fact, what we did with the Indians. We will be acquiring the land. We have an opportunity to exercise that option, certainly before February 7th of 2009. So we plan on working toward that acquisition. And, once again, do want to just recognize the Wood family with our partners there in working with them on this option. The PIC bond, the Public Improvement Corporation bond sale, we'll be bringing that before council before you adjourn this summer, likely. Well, I don't know, Larry, maybe later, but that will be something, when the time's right, we'll bring that before you. And change orders for existing CM at risk and architect contracts. It chokes me up when I think about it, I guess. And that is if you really think we're mobilized out there, we have HOK on board, we have Barton Mallow on board, and you know what? We're going to stay with those folks that we brought to the dance. They've done a great job, and we plan on keeping them. We can just mobilize them from one project to the next. And then, assuming we work through the contracts and things, that's our intent. And working on a guaranteed maximum price as well. And then the other is a bed tax increase. We'll bring that back before you. We owe it to our hoteliers to really look at that, certainly, and what impacts that may have. But that's part of our funding proposal to you as it is related to right now. So with that concludes our remarks. I do know that we had a card that was signed up, Mayor, and then certainly here for any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Opportunity now for anyone from the public.
Mayor, Gary Matthews would like to speak.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, I'm pleased to be here. My name is Gary Matthews. I'm a resident of Goodyear. My wife and I moved here a few years ago from Southern California. We're one of those people, okay. We picked Goodyear after a pretty extensive research, and the web allows us a lot of that today. And the vision of Goodyear was one of the keys to our decision. This city has a vision for the future, and it's a good vision. And like a lot of people, I'm very much interested in good facilities, good services provided by my government. However, the best way to pay for those is by increasing revenue in ways that we can accelerate that growth. Adding the Cincinnati Reds is going to do several things. And some of it's a replay of what you've already heard. We're going to double the play dates. We're going to double the opportunities for hotels and restaurants to get more revenue. we're going to be a catalyst for commercial and retail growth beyond just the stadium, because that whole corridor is going to become very, very important from that aspect. Based on, and we're also going to double the economic impact. That was presented also. Based on statements published in the Arizona Republic in the last couple of weeks, Major League Baseball has indicated that they think they've reached a pretty good balance, particularly if the Reds come here, which I read between the lines as saying, enough's enough. So this looks to me like we're standing at home plate, and the whole ball game is one swing of the bat. And if we swing, we hit a home run. If we stand here, we lose. So I think the approval of the MOU is good for Goodyear. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other citizens?
Mayor Jensen, I spoke a few minutes ago, but I'm coming as just a participant today. As I was driving from that same meeting that Brian was talking about with his green band there, I was coming down Litchfield Road, and in front of me there was an Arizona license plate that said, "See Reds." So there are a lot of fans down here. I can attest to that.
Serendipitous.
Good comment.
Yeah.
Seeing, Maureen, no further? Okay, seeing no other comments. I'd like to get a motion, please, if I could, to approve the MOU.
Is it a resolution? No.
No, it's a memorandum of understanding.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve a memorandum of understanding, or an MOU with the Cincinnati Reds pertaining to the financing, design, construction, use, and operation and maintenance of a Major League Baseball spring training facility generally located at the Estrella Parkway and Bullard Avenue, southwest of the Cleveland Indians Player Development Complex, and direct staff to proceed with the formal use agreement.
Second motion.
Okay, I have a motion, Vice Mayor Antoniak, and a second from Councilmember Souza. I'd like to go, we'll start with Councilmember Osborne, then we'll go to Councilmember Holland, Councilmember Lord, the Vice Mayor. Okay? Now, questions, and obviously, if you intend, I'm sure you're going to vote, rationale for your vote, it's a good time to express that.
Okay, I can do that. Especially since I probably was the one with the most concern. You know, a month ago, I had the most concern. And I had a lot of questions, and maybe some of those were the hard questions, as Mr. Delkey said. But I didn't have a lot of answers at that time. Fortunately, a week ago, a lot of those answers were given. But I think that for the general public, then I need to state that it wasn't just a city center, it wasn't just a library. It were other things that pertain to infrastructure, pertain to IT that has been spelled out numerous times in our matrix study. It was studies of our park systems that needs $6 million for improvements. Some quality of life issues that I know many of these are short term, but there's still things that our citizens are going to ask us about. Issues with street lights and road improvements. Then there were some things that cannot be put on the back burner, like this justice facility, and I don't mean a Taj Mahal for City Council, I mean a justice facility that will be working for our government, our budget, our CIP, and the fact that taking this bonding initiative to bring on the Reds kind of is the last bond we can do for quite a while, and we want to make sure that all of our $104 million eggs that are going into this basket is going to do us good. And I think a week ago, finally, a lot of those answers were given to us. And I think our staff did a great job of bringing us a game plan that really addressed many of my concerns. And I feel better about it. I will have to say that I can be fiscally conservative, and I think 18 years of having to make financial business decisions has probably put me in that direction. But that's why I look at everything. I look at the big picture. And it's not that I'm not visionary. I certainly wouldn't have a business in the city of Goodyear, for that matter. But taking this whole issue with the Reds and putting it back into the business model, I understand. I'll have to say, I have a watch department that loses money. And a couple times a year, I get mad at that watch department. But then a man walks in with a Rolex, wants to get it fixed, and buys a diamond earring. And it's like, you know what? Oh, I love that watch department now. And so I do kind of contribute that, you know what, economically, for a few years, we may be losing some money. We're going to be subsidizing. There's no doubt about that. And there's some short-term issues, quality of life issues, that some of our citizens are not going to be happy with. And we're going to get, I think, as a city, very creative in some ways of taking care of things. I think that our new best friend, Matt Hansen, who's our grants writer, will come and meet. But I think things in the long run are going to turn out okay. And I guess I have the ability to change my mind, and so I will be supporting the Reds.
Councilmember Holland.
Well, this needs to happen for our economic well-being. It requires vision to make it happen, and that means vision of our staff, vision from our mayor, visions from our council members. I certainly don't want to downplay the enormity and downplay our responsibilities. It will require sacrifice on our part. We know it will, but it will be worth it. And I am just as excited about it now as the very first time I heard that it might be a possibility, and I say, go Reds.
Councilmember Lord.
Well, this has been a really interesting experience for me because I have to thank the newspapers for asking the question. I was one of those people that sat sitting on the fence. And if you know me quite well, I'm not a fence sitter. I usually make decisions quickly. But I, like Joanne, had some concerns for our citizens. And I am tied to the city center. I am tied to that library and that city hall after working at it for 2 years. And that concerned me. But what it did, for the first time of any subject we've had to come to the table, by putting that sitting on the fence in your newspapers, I stopped counting at 35 contacts. People called me, they emailed, they stopped me in church, they stopped me in the stores, they stopped me on the streets. And they were all positive. And Mr. Matthews, what you said is what they said. They were very, so you have the pulse of our community. We did have a handful of citizens that really did not want it to happen. They might be very conservative. I listened to all of their comments, and I told each citizen that I was not making a decision at that time, but I would really, truly, in my heart, consider all the points that they made to me, whether they're negative or positive. So this period of time has been really enlightening for me. I want to thank the staff. I thank you for looking at the budget, for finding ways so we can see that library and the city hall. That means a great deal to me. There's no question. The calls I made outside of the state, outside of our city, asking advice, the economic impact will be great for our city. So I, too, Mayor, am voting for this.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
I'll try to be as brief as possible. I don't really have much more to enlighten in terms of the decision-making process or the fence riding or head in the sand or whatever you may want to say in terms of email when you maybe don't have the gumption to pick up the phone and call somebody, not present company included, make myself clear. But, I think we've got a responsibility to engage in that dialogue. And sometimes that responsibility lies in the very fact of stating we're undecided to create the dialogue that had to occur over the last several weeks. I appreciate Mr. Allen's patience, your organization's patience during that dialogue. But what Councilmember Lord and Councilmember Osborne and others have stated and probably will state, we have probably had the healthiest dialogue and debate about an issue that I've seen in my 7 years working with this city on this subject. We press staff. I mean, I know staff was in at the wee hours of the morning and turned over rocks which discovered yet other pieces of coal and not diamonds, and then turned over other rocks in order to discover the diamonds and that sort of thing. And so we really pressed a lot of people into hard places to answer the hard questions that we were posing to staff. I felt much more confident after last Monday's discussion and in the weeks coming up to last Monday's discussion that we're in a better financial position than I think any of us had anticipated we'd be at this juncture, given the current state of economics in our local area. That said, I take this vote tonight knowing, one, there's no guarantee that any higher authority or regional basis of funding is going to support this program in the long term. Yes, we might have, and I really appreciate the STA stepping up this afternoon and taking their action that they did, but really it's not much different, and not to cheapen what you did this afternoon, but it's not much different than me picking black or red on a table and throwing $50 here or $50 there in terms of making a decision. I have to feel comfortable we can support a $33 million decision with local funds. I feel confident after last Monday that we can. I also take the vote knowing that Goodyear will run a deficit on baseball in terms of operations and maintenance. If you look at baseball as the operation, as the only center that we're talking about. But in business, we have lost leaders all the time where we invest hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars into projects that we don't win. And vice versa, some that we do win. Obviously, we're in business, many of us, because the ones that win pay off. And I think this is, I make that decision, or make this decision knowing and hoping and feeling very confident that this one will pay off in the long run. It may be painful for a few short years. It may be difficult in terms of some financial implications in the short term, but I make that decision knowing that those are very factual, the very factual environment in which we're operating and making a decision. So that said, I think everybody knows from that statement where I'll be going this evening on the motion. I do note that the Wood family is notably absent this evening, and I want to make sure that they appreciate our help, and know that the heartfelt appreciation of the Wood family goes out. They're a generational component of this community that should not be dismissed nor ignored, and are making a great sacrifice by dedicating a lot of their land in order to further the cause of this region. And so I thank them very personally, from myself and from the community. So with that, I will support the motion.
Thank you. Councilmember Souza.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I made my opinions noted about this move a long time ago. I probably maybe shouldn't have, but I did. I consider, especially at my age, I consider it an honor to be a part of this team, this Goodyear team that is moving this city ahead to the future. And this, what we're going to do this evening is a move to the future. There's no question about that. We are going to bring people who never even heard the name Goodyear outside of buying tires. But they're going to be surprised when they see the city by the same name. Because we're moving. And we're moving with two good baseball teams. I happen to be a National League supporter of the Pittsburgh Pirates. And I used to be a supporter of the Chicago White Sox before they moved to Glendale.
Wouldn't want you to be honest or anything.
But I have two good baseball teams to root for. And I guess I'm tipping my hat too soon, but I was in favor of this at 100% when I first heard about it, because I think baseball is the attraction that this city needs. We needed the stimulants to motivate people to come to Goodyear, and with that motivation, we, as Harry pointed out, we're going to see industry and commercial properties as we've never seen it before. We are growing. We're going to, we're going to have growth to support what we envision. I was reluctant to give up on the city hall, but we finally worked out that issue. Okay, we reluctant about maybe not having a library to support the colleges that we have coming to town, but we overcame that. So this is the team that can overcome. And I was concerned about the finances, as Rob was. And can we do it? Yeah, we can do it. We've proven that we can do it. We've done it in the past. We will prove that we can do it in the future. With everybody's help, chipping in and getting on board, we're going to do it. Mr. Mayor, I would be remiss if I didn't compliment you once again on your vision in bringing the Cleveland Indians to this town, and now motivating the Cincinnati Reds to come here as well. Along with the colleges, you have been the stimulus in our efforts here this evening. And I want to congratulate you on behalf of this council and on behalf of the city of Goodyear. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the very kind remark, and thank the entire council. My comment's going to be a little anticlimactic here, I think, which is good. But let me just say a couple of things that haven't been stated, I should say. First off, thank the team. Brian mentioned you, so I won't mention the names again, but it was clearly a team effort that did this, from the Reds, from the consultants, from the government agencies, and from our staff. It was exceptional work. Being somewhat involved in that, I can assure the public it wasn't easy. The Indians weren't easy, and the Reds weren't easy. We're a small city. We don't have a lot of political clout. But you know what we do? We do things honorably. I've said that before. We hurt no city in this country by bringing these two teams to Goodyear. Relationships have been exhausted, and we took no one from our own state. So Goodyear is an honorable city which harms no other city. And we are a city with fortitude. That's what we had in this process. We had fortitude. Two very fine organizations, but today it's the Reds. And the Reds are an organization that is forthright, and what they say they'll do, they'll do. So we're very pleased to have you as a companion of the city of Goodyear, John and Mr. Castellini and the entire organization. You're fine people, and we're glad to have you, and you're fine companions with the Indians. So we're very fortunate here. Let me make another comment about that. I'm a sort of a history buff, but the Cleveland Indians go back to the turn of the century, 1901, I think, when they formed the American League. So they're very old. The Cincinnati Reds are the oldest team in professional baseball, 1869. Their players fought in the Civil War. They are 7 generations before us. That's what we have in Goodyear today. We have 2 teams with heritage and history, and 1 team which has the greatest history in baseball, the Cincinnati Reds, from the standpoint of length of that history, and the organization which started the whole thing, the first team in professional baseball. So it's a thrill for us to have you with us for that reason also. I think it's important that our folks know, too, that this park is not about only the Reds and the Indians. It's about us. For 300 days of the year, 8 of those fields, now it's 8, not 4, 8 of those fields will be used by you. You won't be going there necessarily to look at games. You're going to be playing games. You're going to be playing soccer and baseball and Little League and softball on these fields because they're your fields. And the stadium is yours 300 days of the year. That's where you're going to have your events. This is paid for by the people, but unlike some, it is for the people. This is all about us using fields. It's our recreation, and it's. I feel comfortable in the fact that the citizens are paying for something that they will participate in actively. And then lastly, I think Eric sort of summed this up, but the Reds complete the picture frame. We wanted 2 teams from the very beginning. That's the right thing for Goodyear, and it looks like we have 2 teams, doesn't it? So, and obviously this council doesn't want to miss this opportunity. You're here today, and we're going to take you today. All right? Roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Antoniak.
Aye.
Councilmember Souza.
Aye.
Oh, my God.
Aye. Good gusto.
Councilmember Lord.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne.
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Passes 6-0.
Okay. Mr. Allen, I understand you'd like to comment.
First of all, Brian, could you hand me that box and that bag there? I got a couple of small tokens. What tokens?
Don't forget the tokens that are in the back on your way out as well.
Oh, yeah.
They're right here behind you.
That's right.
Good job, guys. Did you see?
Proud.
How about that? Thank you.
You're not going to do what you did last time? Yeah.
Is that treat both teams equal? Oh, love it.
Thanks for the ladies.
You said it's on camera.
You know, I was going to wear red, and I thought, no, that would be late.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, at least it paid.
I was going to say, don't give it to Dick.
I might, Jerry Reinsdorf isn't here, is he?
First of all, I'm overwhelmed. This is a very exciting day for us. But my boss, Mr. Castellini, Bob, could not be here tonight. But he did ask that he sent me some notes to deliver on his behalf. Due to prior commitments, I'm unable to be in Goodyear this evening to thank you in person. I look forward to meeting each of you at the groundbreaking. As a businessman and person in charge of this great franchise, the Cincinnati Reds, I have a responsibility to our fans and partners. Similarly, each of you has responsibilities to the citizens of this community. We sincerely appreciate the confidence you have shown in our organization tonight by approving this agreement. This agreement makes us partner for the next 20 years and hopefully for many years beyond that. We are committing to you that we'll be a good partner for the benefit of the city of Goodyear, the state of Arizona, and the game of baseball. Finally, an agreement of this magnitude does not happen without the hard work and commitment of individuals working together. The Reds would like to personally thank each member of the City Council, Mayor Kavanaugh, Brian Dahlke and his staff, Arizona Sports and Tourism Authority, the Cactus League Association, those Cleveland Indians, Governor Napolitano and her staff for all their efforts on behalf of this project. Without their hard work and dedication, this could not have happened. We're excited about this project and looking forward to working with our new partners on what we believe will be the best facility in baseball. In addition to that, I'd like to add a couple of my comments, and then I'll get out of here. But you know, there are so many people to thank, and you know, I don't want to. There's been so many thank yous up here and so forth, but I'd also like to thank Keith Hoskins, Scott Ruby, Tom Zamba, Geneva Richardson, Eric Judson, the ASTA Board, City Council, I mean, all of you. But it's been mentioned several times about the Wood family, and I had the opportunity to go to breakfast with them, I guess it was last week or 2 weeks ago, and what a thrill that was for me. And you know, their confidence in the city of Goodyear, the vision that they had was evident in having breakfast with them and talking about it. What a wonderful family, and certainly I want to extend my thank yous to them. And I've been out in the community for the last 7 weeks. I mean, it's hard to believe it's only been 7 weeks, but I've been overwhelmed. And Mr. Matthews, I don't know where this guy came from, but thank you. I mean, I had nothing to do with that, so thank you very much. But everybody I've met has been excited about this project. And it's been really neat for me to be out in the community, and you know, the ladies at the hotel where I'm staying, they ask me every day if I'm going to be coming back, and I said, well, I hope so, I hope so. So it's been great for me, but so a big thank you goes also to the citizens of Goodyear. As the mayor mentioned, we're the oldest professional franchise in baseball. We were around 40-some years before Arizona even became a state. And we've had a lot of historic firsts. You may not know, we were the first team to play under the lights. Mr. Powell Crosley put up lights, and we played under the lights. We were the first team to travel by air. And now, here we are, we're moving to Arizona. It's a new chapter for us, but I consider this to be an historic event for our franchise also. And we just thank you so much for the opportunity. And so for the first time, we'll be training in Arizona in 2010. But there's a couple more people I want to thank. When we first came out here, and as Eric said, it took us dragging, kicking and screaming. We're never going to leave Florida. We're never going to go out there. And then, you know, I'm talking to the Indians especially, and said, you got to go out and at least talk to them. And we came out. We met with Brian. We met with the mayor. And what really impressed us was, as someone alluded to earlier, you all have such a plan. I mean, you have a plan. It's not just talk. You have a very well-organized plan. You know where you're going. And you know there's going to be some rough parts, but you all have it. And so I came back and I talked to Brian and the mayor, and I said, you guys really knocked our socks off. And so I thought, as a small token of my appreciation for that, now in baseball vernacular, you don't really wear socks, you wear stirrups. So for each one of them, I went to the clubhouse, or had someone go to the clubhouse here last weekend. So for each of you, Brian, there's your sock.
Thank you, Joe.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank everybody for coming. Any comments or from council? Anything from staff? Okay, great meeting. Meeting is adjourned.